This is the English Literature Web YouTube channel. I am Prof.L.B.Gayakawad is teaching today the topic, the concept of film and literature. Film and literature are the artistic expressions of human mind. Here we can say that the film is created by the person, and that's why it is the mind of a man, and that man creates a film. And again, there is the second concept, that is the literature. This literature is also made by a person because the writer is there and he creates his own masterpiece, or suppose any kind of piece he creates, and that becomes the literature. So we can say that it is said that the film and literature are the artistic expressions. Artistic expressions means they are not easy expressions, means easily we cannot write any kind of literature, or easily we cannot make any kind of film. The film creation as well as the literature creations are the artistic expressions, means they are very innovative things, and the writer or the director have to think more on the innovative points, and they have to think of the art, because in the literature also there are the characters, and in the film also there are the characters, and those characters should be picturized or should be painted or described with the innovative points, because if there is no innovative points, or if there is no artistic expressions, then nobody will read that literature or nobody will see that uh, film. So it is the point that the making of film and the making of literature is nothing but the work of difficultness, because it is the artistic creation and the work of the artistic man. If that man is artistic, then he can write the literature and he can make the particular film. And that's why we can say that film and literature are the similar things. There is a little bit difference, but there is the similarity between the film and the literature. Literature has the genres like short story, novel, drama, poetry, essay, etc. Now, when we think of the literature, then we think that the literature has the genres. Genres means there are the styles of writing. It means the writer writes the styles. If he wants to write the short story, then he writes his own short story with his artistic mind. If he wants to write his novel, then he can write his novel with his artistic mind. And if he wants to write the particular drama, then he can write that drama also with his artistic mind. And if some person is there, a poet, he can write his poetry, or if someone is there, the essayist, he writes his essays. So remember, here I will say that the literature has these genres, but the film has also the genres like this, because the films are also available in the form of the short story, we can say, that is called the telefilms, I will say. So the short story is there. Suppose the short story of Arkenarayan is available there. On this short story, the filmmaker can make his film, and that's why here we can say that the similarity between the literature and the film is too much. If there is a novel, and if that a filmmaker wants to make the particular film on that novel, he can prepare, or he can make the particular arrangements, and he can have the direction of that novel in the form of his film, and the film can be made on the novel also. And such happens about the drama, poetry, and essay. These are the written documents of literature. Remember, these genres, means we saw the genres like short story, novel, drama, poetry, essay. All these genres are the written documents. It means that the writer writes them and he makes the documents out of them, and that's why these genres are called the written documents of literature. And it is clear that letters are used in literature, means here the writer writes his words and phrases. It means he uses the letters there to write his words and phrases and sentences. And all this happens in the form of the passages and paragraphs, and then it becomes a particular book of novel or drama. So this is called the particular literature. Human experiences are exposed through literature and film. Remember, just we saw that the film and literature are the similar things, or the things which are running in the sense of parallel, and that's why in the film also there is the description of the human experiences, because at first it is literature and then it becomes a film. It means the writer writes his experiences in the beginning, and then that writer gives that script to the particular film director, or suppose the filmmaker, and then those persons make the film on that particular writing. And that's why here it is said that the literature is the written documents also, and in that written documents the human experiences are exposed, means are open, because society is there, and in the society many things happen, and from that society many things are collected by the writer, and those collected things are made in the form of the particular literature, and then the particular film is made, or the particular literature is made out of these experiences. And that's why here we can say that human experiences are exposed through literature and film. It is said by the researchers that no one has taken attempts of collecting film and literature together. Remember, it is the saying of the critics or researchers that nobody had attempted to make together the literature and the film. Actually, the film and the literature are the two methods which are related too much with each other, but nobody had attempted, or nobody had taken a labor to bring them together. But uh, the relation between the film and literature is as old as humanity has old days. It is very much true that the literature is the beginning of man's life, means as the man's life has started, the literature has started with man. In this way the literature is too much old. In the same way the film has also the history, and the film has started also with the experiences of man. So it is said that there is the particular relation between the film and the literature, and that relation is as old as humanity has oldness, means the humanity is very old, or we will say that man has been born by God, and from the birth of man, I will say this humanity has begun, and out of this humanity the literature has been created, or the film has been created. But the literature has been created first, and then the film has been created. And that's why here it is very true that the relation between the literature and the film is as old as the humanity is also old. But the researchers have said that nobody has attempted, or nobody had attempted to bring together these two concepts or two ideas together, because they had no idea of making them together. But the 19th century has given a slow beginning to exchange between the film and literature. Then came the 19th century, and in the 19th century, the persons or the researchers or the writers, they thought that why uh, we should not bring together the literature and the film. And that's why in the 19th century, this beginning was done by those persons, and that's why we can say that the 19th century has given a slow beginning to exchange between the literature and the film. Means the point is that the persons of the 19th century, the researchers or the writers, they uh, thought in their mind that film is also like the literature, and literature is also like the film. Means there are the similarities, and that's why they uh, found, or they got those innovative points, and only because of those innovative points they thought that we should bring together the film and literature. And that's why today we see that the film and the literature have come together, and we have got some similarities, not some similarities, but total similarity is there, I will say. The literature is written documents, and I will say the film is the spoken document, or it is the document of picturization, or it is the document of particular, I will say, camera, and characters are there like this. And the literature is full of the human experiences, characters, and there are the a particular culture, there are the particular, I will say, the customs or traditions which are uh, explained or described by the writers. It has been the ideal creation between them. And remember, when these 19th century researchers, or suppose the writers, thought that we should bring together the literature and film, and that's why they brought together the film and the literature, and this became the ideal creation of the film and the literature. And that's why here we can say that the relation between the literature and the film is very similar. Film is related morely with photography and painting in the beginning. In the beginning, we can say that the film is a work of totally photography. The photographers are there, and they were taking the photography, and they were painting some pictures. And out of this photography and painting, the birth of film has been, I will say, has been created. So that's why here the film is uh, really the work of the photography, because we see the picture of or the picturization of the nature, or suppose there are the big bridges are shown, or suppose there are the hills and mountains and valleys are there in the films. And that's why it is the total, I will say, style of the photography and painting. Because when we see the film, we feel that the photography is there, but we feel that it is the painting, and it is painted by the photographer with the help of his cameras. On the contrary, literature was limited in those days to print with more or less permanent shape. Uh, we are discussing here the situation of literature in the beginning, In the beginning, the literature was limited. Limited means it was the problem of the writers, and that's why there were no more writers and there were no facilities to write the novels, or suppose the drama or the poetry. But in the beginning, the poem was written, and there were no permanent shapes when there was the question of literature uh, discussed by the writers. So the beginning of the literature was limited, and the beginning of the film was also there limited, because there was only the photography and painting. And here, in the beginning of the literature, there was only the printing, means they were only uh, doing the printing, or they were printing only, means it was the smallest work of the writing. And so at that time, the literature was not called the literature, it was called only the printing presses, means there were only the printing presses. And in the printing presses, the work of printing of the documents was going on. Literature is a written communication through its genres. Yes, it is very clear that the writer writes the literature, and then through that written literature, the writer speaks with the society, with his experiences, and he talks through the mouths of his characters. Men, women, or animals are there as his characters, and he writes about his characters, and those characters make the dialogues with each other, and with those dialogues, the communication happens, and through that communication, or I will say through that genre, or through those genres, the writer gives the messages to society. And that's why we can say that the literature is nothing but the written communication. It means the writers write the experiences and communicate or talks with societies around them. Literature communicates human experiences and employs the narrative devices. Remember, literature is there, and this literature talks about the experiences of persons means the experiences of men and women in the society. What happens in the society is taken by the writers in the literature, and that's why it is said that the literature communicates human experiences and employs the narrative devices. Employs the narrative devices means it is very true that the writers puts there the narrative devices, means he talks through the techniques, means there are the devices like romanticism, there is the tragedy, or there is the satire, or there is the particular I will say elegy or personal lyric is there, means all these narrative devices are there, and through all these narrative devices the writer uh, talks his literature. Here I will say film employs the spoken communication through sounds. Remember, here the main difference between the literature and film is that the film employs the spoken communication, means there is the spoken communication in the film. It means that the characters talks and talks, means there are the dialogues, and those dialogues are picturized. Those dialogues are given importance by the director or the photographer, and that photographer makes the photography of those characters with the help of those dialogues or communication. And that's why it is said that the film employs the spoken communication through sounds. Sounds means what? The words and phrases, because the characters speak words and phrases, and those words and phrases become the sounds, and there are the sounds, or again we can say that there are the sounds of music, there are the sounds of songs, and in this way that happens the communication. And so here it is very clear that the film employs the spoken communication through sounds. So here today we have finished the concept of film and literature together. In the next period we will come together with a new topic. Till then, thank you very much. Thank you.